He takes the credit for it. You don't take credit for a bounce back. Joe Biden accidentally admitted last night, quote, there was no inflation when I became president. He made a mistake. That was where I said, did you mean that, Joe? You mean you're... Now, Virginia families are being crushed by Crooked Joe. You can't afford groceries, rent, a house, a car payment, or anything else. I think your real rate of inflation, by the way, they say 24, 25%. I think if you really add the right items and you include interest where you can't get a mortgage, but if you do, you're going to pay much more than 10%. I think your rate of inflation is 35 to 50%, and that's killing this country. It's a country buster. It's a family buster. It's busting up everything. We have the highest inflation, in my opinion, in the history of our country. In fact, Biden didn't have inflation for the first, so he didn't have it for many, many months because I gave him something that was beautiful. I gave him a clean, beautiful border. All he had to do was leave Tom Homan and leave these great people, you know, Brandon Judd, great. Oh, and he had a news conference today because Biden last night used his name in vain. He said, I never supported Biden and I never would. He said, I support Trump. I don't support Biden. He has no support. He doesn't have support from one police group anywhere in the country. Frankly, he's a defunder. If you want to know, defund the police. That's another brilliant policy that they have. And then like a nightmare, it all began. But on day one of my new administration, we will throw out Bidenomics and we will replace it. We are going to replace it with Maganomics. 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 To stop Bidenflation, I will end Joe Biden's colossal waste of American taxpayer dollars, and I will rapidly terminate a thing called the Green New Scam. It's the greatest scam in the history of our country. We're spending trillions and trillions of dollars on nonsense, on things that all they do is cause waste and inflation. I will repeal every disastrous Biden regulation. He's adding them back as fast as he can, killing our jobs. Cancel Crooked Joe's insane electrical, think of it, the electric vehicle mandate. It's called the EV mandate. And we will do something like we've never done it before, although we did it pretty good 5 years ago. You know, 5 years ago, we were totally non-reliant on oil and gas from other countries. We were going to soon be energy dominant. We're going to be sending it out to Europe, all over the world. Nobody had ever seen anything like it. And then this guy ended it. Then prices went up and he started saying, oh, let him drill, let him drill. But if this election went bad, our country's going to be destroyed. But they will go back to that policy on the day after it opens up. And you're going to have electric bills that will be triple what they are now. Because when we get in, we're going to have a very simple phrase. We will drill, baby, drill. We're going to drill, baby, drill. Think of it. 4 years ago, something, right? They must have made a lot of money somewhere along the line. Do my people treat you good? Huh? They better treat you good. Front row Joes, they become very famous. The question every voter should be asking themselves today is not whether Joe Biden can survive a 90-minute debate performance, but whether America can survive 4 more years of crooked Joe Biden in the White House. In fact, I don't know if we can really survive 5 more months. This is the most dangerous time in the history of our country, in my opinion, and we have a transition period because hopefully there has to be a transition. We've never been so close to World War III before, and if it happens, it will be a war like no other. This because of the threat of certain types of weapons. We don't even want to mention the word, but because of the type of weapons that you're talking about today, and I know them better than anybody. You know, I built our military. I totally rebuilt our military. I know more about weapons than just about anybody. And when you look at the incredible destructive power of these weapons, this will be a war like no other. This will not be 2 army tanks running against each other and shooting. This is going to be something the likes of which we've never seen. And a man who's grossly incompetent heading up our nation. And he's competing against Putin and President Xi of China and Kim Jong-un of North Korea. He's competing against people that are at the top of their game. And he was never really at the top of his game. He was never very good. But now he's really not good. Last night was a defeat not only for Biden, but for the entire radical left Democrat Party and the fake news media who have been lying to the American people as our country was being destroyed. The fake news media, look at all of them back there. Look at all of them. That's a lot of cameras. That's a lot of cameras. That's a lot of camera power. The Joe Biden on stage yesterday was the same Joe Biden who gave us open borders, crushing inflation, rampant crime, 2 new wars, a disastrous Afghanistan embarrassment, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And the international humiliation, think of it, one after another, international humiliation, one after another. Nobody respects him. Foreign leaders don't respect him. You know, we put up $124 billion more given to Ukraine than Europe. Now, Europe is a lot closer. We have a thing called an ocean in between us, right? So no matter how you cut it, it's got to be more important. Why is it that we're not equalized? Why is it that they put up $124 billion, our people, these people in Washington that don't know what the hell they're doing? You know, I stopped it with NATO. We were spending almost 100% of the money for NATO. And I went in my first meeting, I realized, I said, you know, they're not paying their bills. They're delinquent. My second meeting, I said, you got to pay. And they said, well, what would happen if we don't? Then we won't defend you against Russia. And the next day, money came in by the billions. You never saw money come in so fast, Glenn. The money was pouring in. And I took a lot of heat, Michael, as Mike Waltz. He knows better than anybody on this subject. He's the all-time. He's the all-time. But am I right? The money came in like at a level that was never seen. Hundreds of billions of dollars poured in. And then I took heat from the press because I said, no, I will not defend you if you're not current. And they said, well, that's not very nice. I said, it's not nice. Now, if I said I will, they wouldn't have paid, right? I suspect. But I took a lot of heat. But the fact is, the Secretary General called it the greatest. He's never seen anything like it, because Bush would come in, make a speech, and leave. Obama would come in, make a speech, and leave. And then I came in, and I didn't make a speech. I just said, these guys aren't paying their bills. They're not paying their bills. I don't want to make a speech until they pay their bills. But they asked me, will you defend us if we don't pay? I said, no, I will not defend you. We're not stupid anymore. And $400 billion came pouring in. You never saw money pouring in so fast. The whole world should know that while Biden is the worst president in the history of America, our country is going to be strong again, and it's going to be very soon. I want the enemies to know that, because we have a 5-month transition period, and I want the enemies to know, don't play around with us during this 5-month period. Don't play around. It's only for them. It's also from, in all fairness, we have enemies on the outside, China, Russia, North Korea, enemies, but they're not really enemies if you have a smart president. If you have a smart president, they're not enemies. You'll make them do great. We had no problems. China paid us hundreds of billions of dollars, and it was so because they respected our country. Thank you very much. He said, they respected you. Thank you. Stand up, please. Who said that? Stand up. Because they respected us. You said it better than I could. Thank you. I plagiarized. Thank you. No, they respect us. There was no games. But we have the enemy on the outside, and you can do great things with them. And then we have a worse enemy. I call it the enemy from within. These are the sick people, the socialists. Remember I said, America will never be a socialist country. I was right. I was right. It skipped over socialism, went directly into fascism and communism. It never stopped at the station called socialism. It went worse. And that's a big problem that we have, but I think you're starting to see the end of that. And it's been starting for a while now with us, but I think last night was a big moment for people with common sense that want to see America be great again, want to put America first. Many people are saying that after last night's performance that Joe Biden is leaving the race. But the fact is, I don't really believe that, because he does better in polls than any of the Democrats they're talking about. You've seen that, Len. These polls come out with some of the names they're being, like Gavin Newsom. He can't run California. He's one of the worst governors. No, he's a bad governor. He can't run California. People are leaving one of the most beautiful places on earth in terms of weather, in terms of everything else. You can't do any better than California. He's doing a terrible job. But he gets up and he says, oh, California's doing great, like a machine gun, But it's doing bad. People are leaving so fast, and he'd be easy. But he's got lousy poll numbers. And you take a look at some of the others. Then, of course, Kamala is somebody that will be on the scope. It might have been Joe Biden's single best decision, putting her as vice president. Might have been his best, because nobody wants that. I do. I'd be very happy with it. But they don't poll as well as this guy. I mean, I don't want to speak against myself, but maybe... and they polled everybody. They polled Michelle Obama. She polls very badly. No, she polls terribly. Michelle Obama, people, you know, they poll many people. And it's hard to believe, but crooked Joe Biden polls better than those people. So I don't know what's going to happen. I have absolutely no idea. I just know that we're going to make America great again. That's a good-looking group back there. Better looking than front row Joe's. You know what happens? You think they don't have a good seat. They actually have the best seat. Because oftentimes the cameras are on them. The cameras aren't on you. And I'm making a speech and they have all this stuff. It's all over the world. And a lot of them get picked. Would you like to come to Hollywood? You'd be amazed how many people. They see some of these beautiful faces and they say, let's move them to Hollywood. They have the best seat. They don't know it, but they do. Okay, I don't want to point to too many of them. Get myself in trouble. But remember, the biggest problem for our country is not Joe Biden's personal decline. It's that Joe Biden's policies are causing America's decline at a level that we've never seen before. That's why this November, the people of Virginia and the people of America are going to tell crooked Joe Biden, Biden, you're fired. Get out of here. You're fired. Get out. We don't want you. You've been the worst president in the history of our country. We don't want you. Get the hell out of here. But we don't just need to fire Biden. As you saw yesterday, the whole Democrat Party deserves to be voted out of office. You have some great people. You have some great people in this state. And the reason I'm honored to be with you, Governor, who's here, just made a really fantastic speech. I saw it coming in. I'm flying in on my plane. I'm watching him speak. I said, what a beautiful crowd that is. But he just made a great speech because what he says turns out to be right. He's got common sense. He's got great policy. He's got the policy that made America great. Now America is in decline because they have people that are going against those basic policies. But he's got the policy that made America great. And I'll call him up. I just said to him, do you want to come up? I know you just spoke for 45 minutes. Do you want to come up? And I said, come on up. You know, so he's going to come up in a couple of seconds. As far as I'm concerned, he can say it all again. He can say it all again. But we're proud of him. He's done a great job. Time and again, Joe Biden revealed how extreme and divisive the radical left Democrats have become. Before your very eyes, crooked Joe endorsed unlimited, extreme, late-term abortion up to the moment of birth. And even after think of this, and even death. after a baby is born. And I always am very clear about this. When I say the governor of Virginia, I always go back and say the former governor, because you don't want to be tied into this. But the former governor, that was, I call him Michael Jackson. Remember? His wife saved him. He was going to moonwalk. He was trying to say why he wore blackface, and he was going to moonwalk across the stage. And that's when his wife finally put down her foot. Don't do it. Don't do it. You're already destroyed us. You've destroyed us. Don't do it. Remember, she stopped him because nobody can moonwalk like Michael Jackson, the greatest people. So this would not have been a pretty scene. But he said that, and you can see it. I mean, they have tapes on it. He said, the baby is born. Yes, the baby is born, and then we make a decision on what to do with the baby. And there's some states that allow that. It's not even believable. But think of that. But Biden celebrates throwing his political opponents in jail. He bragged about surrendering our energy independence and all of the other things that he's done in favor of China and India and other countries. And he claimed that the strength of our economy comes not from hardworking Americans, but from illegal aliens, where almost all of our new jobs have gone to illegal aliens. You know that? And just remember I said this because this is a disaster waiting to happen. You know, we're doing very well with the black and Hispanic vote. We're doing very well with the union vote. Like record numbers, because we've done a lot. We've done criminal justice reform. We've saved the historically black colleges and universities. We had great economic development programs with Tim Scott. Opportunity Zones, it's called. It's probably the most successful opportunity. I mean, it's the most incredible thing. And that's gone largely to black, Hispanic people. It's been great. So we've done a lot. But, you know, the worst thing that's happening to black, number one, Hispanic, number two, unions, number three, is the millions of people pouring into our country. They're taking their jobs. And they're taking the black jobs. People that have had their jobs for a long time are losing their jobs. And Hispanic jobs, people that have had them for a long time, they're losing their jobs. And you know who else is the biggest loser? Is going to be the unions. The unions, like the Teamsters. I have such respect for Sean. He's the head of the Teamsters. I don't want to throw around names, but he's a good man. And I don't know, I think, you know, we're at 89% approval within the Teamsters union. And I use Teamsters when I build buildings in Manhattan. They do unbelievable. They take the concrete trucks, and there's nobody can wheel a truck. These guys are incredible. And, you know, maybe we get lucky. Maybe somebody's smart, you know, when they have 89% approval and then they endorse, because for 50 years they endorse automatically. It's almost like automatic. They endorse the Democrat. But I think maybe the Teamsters go with us. You know, when you have a vast majority on your side, and then the person that did it, Hoffa did it last time, and he ended up getting sort of thrown out of the union. But I think they have some good leadership. I think a lot of unions are coming our way. But these millions and millions of people that are coming from prisons and jails, you know, there is a slight difference, okay? They're coming from prisons and jails, mental institutions, and insane asylums like Silence of the Lamb. The press always says, why does he ramble about Silence of the Lamb? The late, great Hannibal Lecter. He'd like to have you over for dinner. Did you ever? Don't do it. If he suggests, I'd like to have you for dinner, don't go. But these are the people that are coming into our country, and they're coming in at numbers that nobody can believe. Venezuela has its lowest crime rate in 30 years because they're taking their gang members and they're dropping them into Virginia, but you have a governor that's not letting them stay very long. Right? But Joe Biden and the Democrats know this, but they're unwilling to do, for whatever reason. I don't understand, for whatever. You know, you always like to understand the other side or your opponent's reasoning. Why would somebody want open borders? Why would somebody want men playing in women's sports? Why would somebody want 100% electric vehicles and they don't go far? They're too expensive. And you know what? They have a place. Elon is a friend of mine. He probably doesn't like me too much with what I say, but they have a great place for a certain application. But you don't want 100%. They've made so many. They've spent trillions of dollars on subsidies. You ever notice that the car companies aren't selling cars, but they seem to be very happy? You know why? Because they're getting massive amounts of subsidy from the government. Normally, they'd all be out of business because they're not selling cars. They're making far more electric vehicles than you need. But they do have a place. They have a great place. But it's 9%. 7%, 8%. You have hundreds of thousands of unsold cars. This would be a great time for you to go buy an electric vehicle. But the car companies normally would be losing their share. But this stupid man that we have is giving massive subsidies. He's given massive subsidies to windmills all over the country that are ruining our beautiful plains, our beautiful land, our beautiful oceans. Whales aren't exactly in love with them. How about in New Jersey, where they had one whale in 50 years that washed up the shore, and last year they had 18? Would you say there's something going on? Little. They had one whale in 50 years. Last year they had 18. That's a lot. And happening more. It does something to them. It drives them crazy. Joe Biden's radical left Democrat Party is now the party of open borders, massive tax hikes, the destruction of Social Security. They are destroying your Social Security because these millions of people are coming in. They're giving them Social Security. Do you believe this? They're destroying it. They're the party of endless wars, weaponization of law enforcement, lies, hoaxes, and corruption. They're corrupt people. The Republican Party is now the party for all Americans because the Republican Party is the party of common sense. Common sense. And in the wake of all these Biden disasters, it's time for our country to finally come together so that our whole nation can win together once again. We're going to win together. We're going to bring our country together with success. Our country, pre-COVID, we had a country that was rocking and rolling like no country in the history of the world. And everybody wanted to come together. It was going to unify. I was getting calls from people that I would have said were radical left, serious radical left, Democrats. They wanted to come. They wanted to have lunch. And then we got the gift from China, COVID, the China virus, as we more accurately call it. And We did a great job. You know, we were recognized for doing great economy. We started no wars. We rebuilt our military. We got the greatest tax cuts in history, greater than the Reagan tax cuts many years before. We had the greatest cuts in regulation of any country and of this country. Nobody has even come within 25, 30% of what we did. We cut regulations at a level that nobody ever saw before. And you know, when I went to the big companies and the small companies, and I'd say, which was more important, the biggest tax cuts in history or the biggest regulation cuts in history? I have never heard one person say the tax cuts. They'd say the regulation cuts were more important. People couldn't build. They couldn't do anything. They were just stagnated. We had a case in Louisiana where an LNG plant, it was stuck in 14 years of traffic. They couldn't get their environmental permits. I got them in one day when I came into office, one day. And they built a $15 billion, this is like 3 Empire State Buildings rolled over and put together. This was the longest thing I've ever seen, made up of like all pipes. And I said, what the hell? But it was a $15 billion project, and they couldn't get it done. I got it done in one day. I took all the things. I said, let's get it done. And then we got 2 of the other ones done, and they're doing unbelievable business. And it was foreign money being poured into the United States. They would have never gotten it approved. And we have many such plants, different types. Plants will never get approved. And all they do is produce good things for us and lots of jobs. And in Virginia, we're doing that too. We're working with your government to get a lot of things approved that you thought would never happen. And we'll get them done very, very quickly. But with these guys, you'll never get them done. You'll never get them done. They don't have any clue. All they know is electric. They want electric army tanks. They want electric planes. What happens if the sun isn't shining while you're up in the air? Well, sir, I told you there'd be problems, sir. No, they want electric everything. They want electric boats. The problem, the boats, they don't float because the battery is so heavy, it sinks the boat. They say, we don't care, we want them anyway. Whether you're a Democrat or Republican, young or old, black, brown, or white, we welcome you to our movement and ask for your help and your partnership in making America the strongest, most magnificent country again anywhere in the world. As I said last night, I'm not in this race for me. I'm in this race for the sake of our country. You know, I told him last night, I wish you were a great president. I wouldn't even be here. I wouldn't have been indicted more than Al Capone. Al Capone was indicted one time. He was a killer. If he took you, see the guy standing up? Say that guy? I don't know who the hell he is, but if Al Capone took him to dinner, he'd say, he's so obnoxious, kill him. He'd say, kill him. He'd be dead, and then the cops were afraid to investigate him. They'd say, Al Capone did it? I'm not.